The money for the renovation is from Mom, right? Parents' money is basically my money. There is nothing wrong that I get this $300,000. My younger sister, Amelia, who unquestioningly believes it's a $300,000 renovation of our childhood home, struggled to lift the heavy bag. My mother, looking at me standing still, spoke with an exasperated expression. She is still obsessed with money, as she has always been. Let's see how this turns out. My name is Jimena. I am a 35-year-old working at an office. I have a husband and a 5-year-old daughter. A year ago, our father passed away, and my mother, who was left alone in the family home, became a concern for me. When I discussed it with my husband, he kindly agreed to move into her house. So now, our family is living with my mom in the family home. She seems delighted to live with her granddaughter, and I'm grateful for her preparing meals when I come home late from work. Although this house is old, my husband was happy that it has many rooms. I finally have my own room, and I can watch videos in peace. Previously, in the apartment we lived in, there was no room designated solely for him, so he wore headphones and watched internet videos, being considerate of our daughter and me. Even after moving to the family home, he still wears headphones to be considerate of my mother, but enjoys videos while lying back and relaxing. Since we moved, our family had been living comfortably together. Meanwhile, as the house has become old, my mom mentioned considering a renovation. I have a younger sister, Amelia, who is 2 years younger than me. Upon learning about the renovation project for the family home, she seemed to dislike it for some reason. She lives with her husband Zane, near our home as a housemaker. However, she had never visited our family home, even when our father was still alive. Since she was little, she had an attachment to money, and had a somewhat cold demeanor towards people, valuing money more than family connections. During the first grade of elementary school, on a career day, when she had to announce her future aspirations in front of her classmates and their parents, Amelia apparently said the following quite clearly: I want to be the CEO of an IT company or the wife of an oil magnate, and become incredibly wealthy. Upon hearing this, our mom apparently turned bright red with embarrassment, but Amelia delivered her statement with a straight face. While other children presented cuter job aspirations, our father praised her for having specific goals. It would have been good for Amelia to study seriously toward her ambitious goals, but she always preferred taking the easy way out, never focusing on her studies seriously, playing at home, and not having good grades. Studying at school is useless. It won't help in the real world. Whenever our mom told her to study, she would make such excuses, causing us all a lot of trouble. She managed to get into a low-level high school, but by that time, she had given up on her dream of becoming the CEO of an IT company, and had started aiming to marry a wealthy person. She made a mockery of me, studying seriously, saying, "No matter how hard you study, you won't become successful. In the end, it's all about whether you have money or not." Despite her fixation on money, she never bothered to work, and seemed to be waiting for money to magically appear from somewhere. When I started attending university, she expressed a desire to pursue further education, but apparently, a teacher told her there are few universities you can get into. Instead of using this humiliation as motivation to study harder for the exams, she easily switched her career path to a vocational school. Her decision to attend a vocational school wasn't based on a specific goal, but rather a dislike for entering the workforce, or so it seemed. When I inquired about the field of study, she mentioned it was a vocational school for aspiring civil servants. This brought some relief, as it seemed like she had finally chosen to get a stable job. Our parents were happy, thinking that she would settle down, but she quit the school in less than a year. She said, "I want to do more creative work," while discussing these vague plans. But in reality, it appeared she dropped out from embarrassment after failing several classes, as she had difficulties to keep up with her coursework. Even though she once mentioned working in a creative job, she has started working as a temporary employee at a nearby food factory. It's a factory that produces convenience store bentos around the clock. Well, it's a manufacturing job, so you could say it's somewhat creative in its own way. She seemed somewhat satisfied. She was earning a decent salary because she worked night shifts, with a high hourly wage, and often did overtime. Moreover, when she had just started working, she would come home in the morning and sleep right away. Then head to work in the evening. She didn't go out or spend much, and her money kept piling up. Even after starting to work, she didn't contribute to household expenses in our family home, so she was happy to have her entire salary to spend as she pleased. You should stop being a poor student and start working and become self-reliant. I didn't want to hear it from my sister, who lived at home, didn't help with the housework, and didn't contribute to the living expenses. When I entered university, I moved out of our family home. While my parents covered my tuition, I supported myself with part-time jobs. I rented a room near the university, at my uncle's place, lived frugally, and focused on my studies. My busy part-time job meant I couldn't go back home often, but when I did return, Amelia would make sarcastic remarks. "The money-sucking leech is back. You should quit university already." It was odd that she is at home lively at this time, because she usually sleeps after her night shift. When I asked Mom, she told me with a troubled expression. Amelia quit her job at the factory. Now she's working part-time at a supermarket. Thinking she had saved up enough money, she had decided to change to a daytime job, even if it meant a lower salary than before. She seemed happy about having her evenings free. According to Mom, she not only didn't contribute to their living expenses, despite her savings, but had even asked for an allowance recently, citing a decrease in her salary. She seemed either stingy or practical, because she didn't want to spend the money she had saved. When she ran out of spending money, she would ask our parents for an allowance. When she did, she would always bring up my situation. "You're paying for Gemina's tuition, so you should give me the same amount, right?" Our parents reluctantly gave her an allowance, but when I graduated from university and got a job, she had to come up with other excuses to request money from our parents. Even after I started working, I heard that she insisted she didn't receive as much money as the tuition costs, because she didn't go to college, and continued to ask for an allowance. While my parents' compliance with her wishes wasn't good, her lack of independence was even worse. In the meantime, Amelia, having been receiving an allowance from our parents, while working part-time, suddenly announced that she was getting married. The day her fiancé Zane came to visit our family home for the introduction, I was also invited by our parents. However, upon seeing me, Amelia immediately displayed an unhappy expression and said, "Why are you here? You are not involved in this. Just leave." Anyway, she seemed to dislike me, so I left without meeting Zane. Later, my parents told me that he turned out to be unexpectedly responsible, and worked as an employee at the supermarket where Amelia was employed. Even though Amelia had been talking about marrying a rich person, he appeared to be a fairly ordinary individual. It turned out that Zane's father has a small business. Zane had an older brother, so it was unclear whether he would inherit the company, but he was, at least in theory, a wealthy son. With Amelia moving out, and our parents settling down, I felt relieved. The first time I met Zane was at their wedding, and he seemed quiet. I felt sorry for him because he seemed he would end up being dominated by Amelia. During the wedding, Amelia spotted me and proudly declared, "Aren't you envious that I've hit the jackpot? I'm going to be a company president's wife. Don't approach me so casually." Although I had heard from our parents that it was uncertain whether Zane would become a company president, she was acting as if she had already become the wife of a company president. Since she told me not to approach her, I didn't see her for quite some time afterward. I couldn't return home often due to my busy job, and I had also started dating someone. To be honest, I wasn't very interested in my sister. After getting married, she moved out of our family home and rented a house near our parents' place. It seemed like she was cold, not just to me but also to our parents. Occasionally, when I returned to our family home, my mom would speak with a lonely tone. I haven't received any communication from Amelia. I wonder if she's doing okay. They live near this home, so why don't you go check on her? I said, and she looked troubled. When I went to check on her, just after she got married, she got angry and told me not to come anymore, she replied. Hearing that, I felt angry with Amelia for speaking so rudely to our own mom. When I decided to get married, I did contact Amelia, but she replied casually, I don't care what you do. I won't be attending your wedding. By this time, it seemed like both our parents had already started considering Amelia as if she didn't exist, and they carried out my wedding without paying her much attention. Even at our dad's funeral, she didn't bother to show up, but eagerly returned home when it was time for the inheritance. Ignoring our exasperation, she was all fired up, her nostrils flaring. How much is Dad's inheritance? I want my share too. She seemed to have had quite high expectations, but our dad's assets consisted of only the family home and a small amount of cash. The land was leased, so it wasn't part of the inheritance, which left her disappointed. Our mom inherited the family home and divided the cash between me and Amelia. At that time, we informed Amelia that our family would continue living with our mom. I'll leave Mom's care to you. I don't want that rundown house, she declared. However, as soon as she learned about the home renovation project, she began complaining. What? If you have money for renovations, then give it to me. Zane's dad's company went bankrupt. Her fixation on our dad's inheritance stemmed from Zane's father's company going bankrupt, leading to her losing her supermarket job. Zane also lost his position at the company. Despite her previous boasting as the company president's wife, Zane never became a president and now works as a contract employee somewhere else. Mom confronted Amelia, demanding and selfish, sternly, which is rare for her. You didn't even show up at your father's funeral. You're no daughter of mine anymore. When I visited to check on you after your marriage, you told me not to come anymore. It seemed Amelia had forgotten her words, but Mom hadn't. Grumbling to herself, Amelia left, but I felt a mixture of inappropriate relief, because I had learned about her true situation. While she had arrogantly claimed to be a company president's wife, she sought money sorely when she was in trouble, showing how self-centered she was. After that, she stopped coming to our family home. The renovation plan had smoothly started. With the retirement money from our mom, who worked as a public servant, and the portion we contributed, a total of $300,000 for renovation expenses was ready. Once we started living with our mom, we began discussing and deciding on the areas to renovate, which led to various ideas coming up. It took some time to finalize the plan. Around the time when the renovation work finally began, my husband and I went out, leaving my mom and our daughter at home. That's when Amelia showed up. She came to check on our project out of curiosity, since we had mentioned the renovation a while ago and had not started actual construction. How much did you prepare for the renovation? Mom didn't respond, but my daughter, who had been listening to their conversation, innocently answered, $300,000. Mom hastily denied it, but Amelia's attitude changed upon hearing the amount. From then on, Amelia would come to our family home almost daily and pester our mom for money. When did you manage to save up so much money? You see, I'm struggling. You could give me a little, couldn't you? Then work and help Zane out yourself. Mom accused her being unemployed since she lost her position at the supermarket, despite her tight finances, but she paid no heed. My husband and I were also at home that day as it was on a weekend. After Amelia left our house, she was still wandering around outside as if she did not give up. By the time it was nearly noon, and I was preparing a meal, I heard sirens. Several police cars seemed to be running around near our house, My husband, who was looking outside, got worried. Did something big happen? When my mom turned on the TV, it was reporting a news story about a cash transport vehicle being attacked and cash stolen near our house. Thinking it was dangerous, I went to check the locks. As I did, I saw several individuals, dressed in black, running away near our house. I shouted, "Hey! Aren't those the robbers they talked about on TV?" My husband and daughter also came to see, and were surprised as they watched the individuals running away. Did they drop something that looked like a bag? Neither I nor my husband noticed, but it appeared that the fleeing individuals had left something behind. Feeling scared, I warned my daughter not to go outside, and continued preparing the meal. Suddenly, we heard Amelia's voice coming from the front door. "I'm taking your renovation funds with me." I couldn't understand what she was saying. I went to the front door with Mom, where we saw Amelia holding a heavy-looking black Boston bag. In a situation I couldn't quite grasp, Mom and I looked at my sister, who was gleefully shouting at us. "Leaving a large sum of money right in front of the door is dangerous. I'll put it to good use, so don't worry." As I, not recognizing the Boston bag, stood in shock, Amelia said to Mom with a smug look, "You prepared the renovation funds, right? Parents' money is my money. I'm taking this $300K, what's the problem?" She then dragged the heavy bag and left. I was left standing there, not understanding what the bag Amelia took with her was. However, Mom noticed something and was smiling in amusement. "Same as ever, only thinking about money. Let's see how this turns out," Mom remarked with a hint of sarcasm. My husband seemed to grasp what my mom was getting at and asked with a pale face, "Is it okay not to tell Amelia the truth? She could get in trouble with the police." As I struggled to comprehend my husband's words, police officers arrived at our home. My husband provided them with information about the individuals who had fled earlier, and he also mentioned that my sister had taken the Boston bag left in front of the house. Through this exchange, I finally understood what had transpired. The bag Amelia had taken was the one dropped by the fleeing individuals, and inside it was the money stolen from the cash transport vehicle. She had foolishly mistaken it for the renovation funds for our family home, and stolen it. At this point, I was at a loss for words. Mom's statement meant, "Watch your sister get caught by the police." She must be quite fed up, didn't mind if Amelia was apprehended by the police. The police headed straight to Amelia's house, so I assumed they would catch her right away. However, a few days later, a completely disheveled Zane showed up at our family home. "Has Amelia returned yet? What on earth did she do?" Zane inquired. I had believed that she had been caught by the police, so I was taken aback by Zane's words. "Isn't Amelia caught by the police? By the way, Zane, what happened to you? Why do you look so terrible?" I asked. Tears streaming down his face, Zane began recounting the events. He explained that Amelia, after she had stolen the money from the robbery, had returned home, only to flee in a hurry through the back door. Zane was left flabbergasted when a group of individuals dressed in black managed to enter the house. "I saw her enter here. Hey! Where is that bitch? Quit hiding her. We won't hesitate if you don't spill the beans. What's going on? What has my wife done? Stop playing dumb. You'll come with us until you decide to tell us where she is. Whoa! What are you doing? Let go." Incredibly, since Amelia couldn't be found, the robbers had taken Zane with them as a substitute. After hearing the story, I called the police to ensure Zane's safety. Eventually, news arrived that Amelia, along with the group of black-clad individuals who had been on the run, had been apprehended. Her intense obsession with money, even as she continued to flee and end up in such a dire state, was profoundly unsettling to me. The robbers dropped Boston bag was finally arrested. Amelia had believed for a long time that the contents of that Boston bag were meant for our house renovation. She didn't seem to understand why she had been arrested and why those people in black were persistently pursuing her. The fear must have grown, as she didn't comprehend the reason for their relentless pursuit. Still, her desire for the money she had acquired must have been stronger. When she was arrested, she was surprised to learn that the bag contained the stolen money from the robbers, not renovation funds. Her failure to seek refuge at the police station when pursued by suspicious individuals was simply foolish. Although she was cleared of involvement with the robbery gang, she was arrested again for attempting to keep the found property for herself, instead of turning it into the police, facing charges of embezzlement. And she shockingly said, "I won't pay a single penny for a fine. If I can eat for free, I'd rather choose imprisonment." And surprisingly chose imprisonment with delight. Her husband Zane, fed up with her antics, served her divorce papers. Our family had finally had enough of her irrational behavior. After her release, she became increasingly isolated and desperate. She was found trying to start a fire, leading to her being arrested once again. And we all started living in our newly revamped house. When I found out I was expecting my second child, my mom was overjoyed. She said, "I'm glad the renovation was completed before the baby's arrival." My daughter was excited about becoming a big sister, and my husband was more motivated than ever to work hard.